You're going to give us a wave? Good. All right.
Nice.
So please, Jeannie, introduce yourself. Tell us about the college you attended and what you do and what you're doing now.
Morning, everybody. My name is Jeannie Okikolu. I attended King's College in Cambridge. I went up in 1981 and graduated in 1984. After graduating, I trained to become a chartered accountant. I'm still a chartered accountant. I now run my own practice offering forensic accountancy services. I'm also a member of the Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales.
Excellent. And if we move on to the same question to you, Uzo.
Hi. Yeah, so my full name is Uzoma Igbawaka, but Uzo is what I'm more affectionately known as. I came to Cambridge Trinity College in 1998. I graduated in 2001. After that, I immediately joined an investment bank, which is obviously part of the financial services sector. I've been in investment banking ever since, so that's 20 years as of this year. I work within a part of investment banking called Global Financial Markets, where we look at price securities.
Excellent. And if we go on to you, Shehu.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shehu Shuaibu Abdusalam, born in Nigeria and brought up in Nigeria as well, up to my bachelor's in physics. And I had a training in South Africa before moving to Cambridge for master's and PhD. Starting from the year 2004, I was in St. Edmund's College. And after my PhD, I kept on with job in the academia. So I've got a fellowship at the International Center for Theoretical Physics and then University of Rome La Sapienza before moving to Shahid Beheshti University, where I'm now based teaching and doing research.
Excellent. So before I ask the panelists any more questions, I'd like to ask the delegates a question. We're going to do our first poll. So the first poll question is, how many Black mathematicians do you know? Now, this could include your teachers. So first poll is, how many Black mathematicians do you know? Here we go. So, all right. So now I'm going to start off with the first question. And this is put to the three panelists. Can you give us some examples where your work has made a positive impact? Who would like to go first?
Will I go first?
Yeah, yes, Jeannie, you can go first. Yep.
Okay. Well, I should explain something about forensic accountancy. The word forensic means that one is focusing on the evidence. It's very important to collect evidence, and the reason for that is forensic accountants are often helping people with their disputes, for example, in litigation, or with insurance claims where it's necessary, an event has happened, it's necessary to quantify the losses the business has suffered, for example, or investigating suspicious or contentious circumstances. And so the collecting the evidence to prove what has gone on or to prove the losses that have suffered is terribly important, because one's work might end up being relied on by a court, and one might have to be an expert witness. So I can say that for my clients, the services I offer have a very positive impact because they're helping them, I hope, to resolve their disputes, to investigate circumstances.
Excellent. And shall we move on to you, Uzu?
Yeah, sure. So, look, I think the first thing to understand is, in what is investment banking, in order to answer that question. Well, ultimately, within global markets, what we do is we find those people who are looking for capital and financing. So that could be corporates, financial institutions, or governments even. And we pair them, in some sense, to people who have capital and are looking to invest. Often investment happens, securities are formed, and these securities then trade into the markets. And a big part of what I do is helping create that official marketplace for the trading of these securities. Now, what's exploded in recent years, of course, is the focus on the impact, the social impacts and environmental impact of the operations of corporations and companies as a whole. And investors have become increasingly interested in investing in securities where in some way there can be some measurement of the social impact or the sustainability of a particular operation or the investment. These particular bonds are called things like green bonds. They're called sustainability-linked bonds, even social bonds. This is a part of the universe that I'm personally very interested in, and it is a part of the universe and space which is expected to grow pretty quickly over the coming years.
Excellent. And Shehu, would you like to say anything?
Oh yeah, sure. Maybe 3 points. Number one has to do with my work during PhD research. So I tackled a problem which has been there for like a decade due to mainly possibly people fearing the kind of workload involved. It requires huge computations. And that was within like work called supersymmetry. It's a model that tries to describe the universe and the interactions, different kind of interactions that we have there. So I used a new technique like called Bayesian statistical techniques. It's a kind of new Monte Carlo method to address the problem. And within that project, we made the prediction about mass of the Higgs boson, if you've heard of mass of the Higgs boson. So this is one thing which I have done that have triggered some kind of excitement and work from both theoretical theorists and experimentalists, mainly dealing with Large Hadron Collider experiments. Yeah. So the Large Hadron Collider experiment, I mean, it's a big project that involves like thousands of people from all over the world, and I belong to that part of the universe, and actually it is accelerating science. The kind of questions we try to address, right, triggers technological developments. It triggers, one can even say, the internet, what we enjoy now about the internet. So I feel really good belonging to this community. And the other aspect is about teaching. I love teaching. I love guiding and interacting with students. And I'm very happy, like at the moment, if not for the COVID-19 pandemic, my first PhD student would have graduated and defended his work. But we are working to make that happen very soon. And I hope to have more to come in the next few years. So this is from me.
Well, okay, thank you very much indeed. Now, what I'll say to those watching this talk is that if you wish to post a question to the panelists, you can put it into the Q&A, and that will filter through, and I will be asking the panelists your questions. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask the next question. So here comes, and this is for the three of you who wish to answer this. So, how has mathematics helped you in your career? Who would like to go first? And we go, Uzu.
Sure. So mathematics, I guess, has helped you in my career in two ways. Firstly, if you think about it, the securities that we trade, they can sometimes be fairly complicated securities, and the prices of which can vary due to all sorts of inputs. Now, clearly, there are models that can go so far as to describe how the prices of these securities should move over time. And to some extent, understanding those models, if you have an understanding of mathematics, then you're much more likely to really understand the limitation of those models. I'd say the second way that mathematics has helped me is really to do with the whole structure of mathematics in terms of how you think as a mathematician. A big part of my job involves problem solving. And so as a mathematician, you learn very quickly how to decompose what can be a very complicated big problem into its smaller constituents. And then you attack it. So I think even though I don't necessarily on a day-to-day basis go into the most complicated theorems and mathematical structures, I do feel that the degree I picked up at Cambridge has been absolutely instrumental in helping me do my job well.
Do you mind saying absolutely instrumental in doing my job? Can you say that again, please?
Has been absolutely instrumental in helping me do my job well. Just for you, Naira.
Thank you very much, Nate. Thank you. All right. Who else would like to answer that question?
Should I go next?
Yep. You can go next, Shehu. Yep.
Great. So I think mathematics is actually the career. That is what I do. So I'm a physicist. I love physics so much. And being a physicist, I mean, we talk mathematics. So it's kind of, one can say, it's the language. Okay? If we can imagine like humans, like me and you, and everyone now listening to us, and we're talking to each other. If we represent that to be physics, then mathematics is the language, right? So it's very important, and it's very fascinating for me. I mean, the impact it has. For example, I'll give one example here: the work of Maxwell in unifying, let's say, electricity and magnetism. So that created this world of electromagnetism, and that everyone is enjoying and using now, right? One can imagine those days ages ago. I mean, at the time of Maxwell himself, and Faraday and collaborators, I mean, some of the things we now using, we're now enjoying, it would be very difficult for them to imagine seeing it happening, right? But they did it on papers, and they solved it. It's mathematics. And today I can project as well. So the latest kind of point, if I may say, in this direction has to do with something called gravitational waves, right? Something that has just been discovered. It is similar to electromagnetic waves. So if one can compare and imagine what electromagnetism is doing, I think it's difficult for me to imagine today what's going to happen, like in 100 years from now, or 200 years, that has to do with gravitational waves. So mathematics is so nice and beautiful that it is in me. It is something which I'm doing. It is my career.
Excellent. And with you, Jeannie.
Yes, I very much agree with what Uzo said about the structure of thinking, firstly, because mathematics is about problems, and it's quite useful in one's work to cast things as a problem that one needs to solve and to work out what you know and what you don't know. But there isn't, in accountancy, there's not a lot of mathematics, but I also have been shown some equations, some formulae. Because sometimes a regulator or party to a negotiation will demand that something is calculated by a formula. So if your input X is varying, you can expect your output Y also to vary. And that is the whole point, to make sure that the output varies if the input varies. However, I have been shown formulae that are supposed to do this, but actually when you look closely at them, the formulae are designed to ensure that the output is virtually constant, irrespective of what input it is within the expected ranges. And so this is quite an interesting use of maths, and it's useful to have a maths background to be able to spot this kind of thing.
Excellent. Right, here comes the next question. Actually, this actually comes from one of the delegates, and it is a direct question to you, Uzo. Right, here you go. So they're saying, could you give an example of problem solving in investment banking?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I mean, there's a lot of examples. So a recent example I'd say is, if you think about it, you have a bunch of clients who want to interact with the financial markets. They want to buy and they want to sell securities. How do you do that in an efficient manner? If you're working at an investment bank, you have a huge amount of volume of information and requests and workflow. Is there a way that you can, in some way, automate the response to some of this? i.e., I'm talking about the world of algorithms. I'm talking about the way of automatic pricing systems, etc. Now, this is an area that is expanding. It's growing. It certainly is a huge problem that has to be sort of broken down. It's a lot about the process of pricing. How does one arrive to a price? And this is something that the mathematical structures and constructs, in some sense, can help address. So that, to me, automation and aspects of automation of trading is a very real life example of a problem that banks within the finance sector have had to address and solve.
Excellent. I hope that the delegate is more than happy with that type of question. So here comes the next question, and it's saying, who has actually inspired you in your career? And is there anybody? Yeah, and go with you, Jeannie.
I would say that it's not a specific person. I've seen a lot of people who are inspirational, and what I like to see is people who really stick to their guns when they have a good point, even if other people don't realise the point they're making. I think people who really stick to their guns and pursue things, to me, that's inspirational.
Excellent. Anybody? And go for it, Uzu?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll just follow up on that. I'd say I find it very hard to pinpoint exactly one or two people who have inspired me. I would say that the human condition is such that we all have things we're good at. We have some other things we're not so good at. But I've been very fortunate in my career to work with some truly fantastic professionals who have excelled at certain particular things. And I do make it, in some sense, my business to learn, from those various individuals and as it were, take some aspect of that and improve my overall, performance in some sense. I think as a leader, in finance, I think a big part of trying to inspire, people and colleagues and team members, a big aspect of that is to really listen to and understand and have some real empathy with individuals, and also spend time developing, nurturing, and growing some of the more junior members of the team. So I think if we can do our part as leaders in industry, and if we can develop those around us and listen to what they're saying, then it's a win-win situation for the industry at large, and also for all of us.
Excellent. And Shehu, do you wish to add to that?
Yeah, I think I've got inspirations from my teachers to begin with.
Shehu, you better be careful with which teacher you mention here, because a teacher is actually watching you right now. So which particular teacher?
It's a difficult one to mention one person. I mean, there are lots of them. Right from my primary, secondary school educations, I've got really excellent, wonderful teachers that cared for me. They've cared and showed me the way. Up to university professors, and maybe to mention some in Cambridge, for sure, there is David McKay, which I've met in South Africa, and he's now late. And also while at Cambridge, and also Professor Hawkins, Fernando Quevedo, my supervisor, and Neil Turok was also at Cambridge at some point. I mean, there are lots of them. I've really got inspiration from them, and also some of them which are blacks. It was really useful. It helped me to keep going. So I'll mention like Jim Gates in the United States, and also Tanya Moller, Liverpool.
Okay, what about Helen Mason?
Oh, sure. Yeah, Helen Mason for sure at St. Edmund's College, and yeah, at DAMT. So yeah, you've caught me.
Sorry about that. Well, a message from Helen Mason. I'll just say it to you. Say, hi, Shehu. So proud of what you've achieved. There you go. So there you go. So all good. Right. Excellent. Right. So here comes the next question, and I promise I won't not throw any curveballs like that again. Here's the next question. How frequent do you meet the regular maths textbook problems out there in the real world? And everybody's smiling. Everybody's smiling. Shehu, you've got to say something.
I think I see them a lot everywhere. So from differentiation, I deal with them, integrations everywhere, dealing with sets and group theories. It's fascinating, actually. At the beginning, when I was learning group theory, I thought it's completely like abstract with no application in the real world. But later, with courses in particle physics, theoretical high-energy physics, I really see the applications, so even pure mathematical concepts in physics. So I will say, yeah, I live with those and I see a lot of them, and even in day-to-day activities.
Okay. Anybody else want to contribute? No. Okay. And here comes the next question. So, what was the most challenging experience you faced in your career due to your race, and how did you overcome it?
Sure. I mean,
go for Uzo.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I've been very fortunate in that. I mean, I can say that I've never experienced overt racism in the 20 years of my profession. You know, what I would say is, bear in mind that when I arrived in Cambridge as a young mathematician, I only had to look across the class, and I think I saw maybe one other black face. And so being, in a sense, in a minority is something that wasn't strange to me when I then moved into a trading floor and into the investment banks. What I would say is that there's been progress made, absolutely, in that there's been almost a collective awakening, I'd say, across the business community. Obviously, I'd include the finance sector in that. An awakening in which is asking the questions as to why, or is our workforce as diverse as less and reflective of society? So by diversity, of course, we talk about diversity of race, which is what we're focusing on today. But of course, you can talk about diversity of gender, and you can talk about sexual orientation, for example. But certainly, I would say that over the time that I've been in this industry, there has been the awakening to ask the right questions and to begin putting structures in place to address it. I'd also say that the BLM, the movement and what happened at the tragic events of last year, that has accelerated in some sense the race issue, and also again has asked professionals and industry to sort of take that introspective look at themselves and see, if there is a problem, what should be done to address that.
Okay. Shehu, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I can also chip in something here. So from academicians, right, like say college life and university life as a whole, I mean, I haven't had any experience with racial attacks or something. it's all been like love and like teaching and trying to bring me up, which I really appreciate everywhere. So Cambridge and also outside Cambridge. But there are policies which have really impacted somehow on the way I progress, right? I can give like one or two examples. One example is about, say, having a credit card. During my PhD period, I think something happened, and then I needed to purchase a flight to go back to Nigeria, but then I couldn't do that because the bank will not give me a credit card being a Nigerian. Well, Nigeria, one could accept that to some extent. There are examples of corruptions going on, but it's not the only country that's corrupt, right? And one can also ask or say that it's not the worst in the whole world. So why me? So I had to take my supervisor, and he had to help in getting me out of that problem. Other examples have to do with like visa issues or the way you get treated because of the nature of our work. We travel a lot. So during my PhD and afterwards, I move around a lot, and you get all sorts of, I would say, questionable kind of approaches or kind of policies. So I can mention the last one, getting out of the country, say Italy, for example, and with all documents, as far as I'm concerned, everything is okay, right? The only issue that happened was I moved my work from ICTP to University of Rome, La Sapienza. So because of that move, it seems there was some change in visa policy, blah, which I have no idea what it means. But my take was maybe the person at the airport didn't like my face for any reason. And then boom, he said, oh no, so you cannot come back. Go wherever you want to go, and you have to solve your problem, get a visa from outside, and you get back. That it's something that may look very simple, but the implication is really huge, right? It affects the stability for me to do my research. Actually, it got me into trouble. I had to go back to Nigeria and almost get killed at some point somewhere for some reasons, and so on. So one can say there are policies, I mean, there are issues that has to, or one can claim has to do with racism. I mean, it's not zero, but again, just to summarize, within the, with academicians, I mean, my colleagues, my collaborators, my teachers, my professors, it has all been okay and great.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to this question, and related to the previous question, and this was come from Michael Clegg, and he says, there's an issue about ensuring everyone with talent can access mathematics at the highest level, like you in the panel, yeah? So, but also about ensuring everyone has good basic math skills. Do you think there is a link between the two?
So can you like say it again, the link between the two? What?
I can repeat the question. There is an issue about ensuring everyone with talent can access mathematics at the highest level, yeah, like you guys, but ensuring that everyone has a good basic math skills. Do you think there's a link between the two? Okay, Jeannie, you were shaking your head?
So maybe let me get this right first. So basic math skills means like getting mathematical educations in high school or primary school, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then the possibility to be able to get into high, recognized institutions and universities, right? I think there is a link between these two, right? It's in a way, it's a kind of chicken and egg problem. So if I look at, say, University of Cambridge, right, and the mathematical sciences, I mean, one can count, if any, the number of blacks, say, faculties, right? Black faculties in universities. It's really a small number, or a small percentage, right? And that is linked with possibly to the fact that less number of blacks get into high schools with like zeal or liking to study mathematics, right? And that can go back to primary school educations as well, and possibly to their family backgrounds, right? Okay. And also the way around, so I can reverse it back. So I think the two are connected, and there's need to work on both sides, right? So in the university sides, trying to have policies maybe to have more minorities or black people within the faculties, and also from schools, teachers and families encouraging the young ones into mathematics. So honestly, I'm not sure if that addresses the question well, but I mean, if the frame.
Right. Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm going to ask you the next question, and this is composed to the three of you. Right. So, why did you choose to do a mathematics degree at Cambridge? I'm seeing smiles there, and I'm just seeing smiles there. Hands up. Who wants to take that? Is it?
Yes, I'll go first. So, in fact, that question can be broken into two. Like, why maths and then why Cambridge? I'd say sort of two. Why mathematics? Well, I totally loved and adored maths. I think, like many of my cohorts who studied at Cambridge, maths was almost not an option for us. It was just something that we did and something that we loved and something that consumed us. I remember being interested in maths from my very earliest days. I remember really getting into some form of coding when I was quite small, and just for me, maths has always been something quite pragmatic. So there's always been some aspect of using it somehow. So when it came to choosing a degree of mathematics, it was just very natural, and I was very fortunate to have teachers who were able to really bring that out of me. Shall I say the passion out of me? I say why Cambridge? Simply because I'd heard of Cambridge was a good and strong university. I absolutely didn't feel within myself there should be any reason I shouldn't apply to do Cambridge. Then I looked online. I obviously knew who Sir Isaac Newton was. I knew about him having gone to Trinity, and so I thought I'm going to apply to that. So it really, I think for me, it was really a journey of finding and trying to think about the best place that I could really be creative in my mathematics and really pursue that mathematics and that love of mathematics that had been with me from a very young age.
Okay, thank you. And anybody else? Shehu.
Yeah, I think during like my last year at Ahmadu Bello University, my undergraduate, I was more thinking about going to the United States, and I did some search of universities there, like MIT, Caltech, and a collection. But one problem with those is you need to like do some payments. So if you want to apply to different places, that was a bit difficult. But then there was this advertisement from one of my professors. He said, look, I think this is something really good for you. What was it? Two things. Number one was about the Gates Cambridge scholarship. I didn't know about it. My professor told me about it, and he encouraged me to apply. And number two, there was this movement starting, the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. Neil Turok and collaborators started this work in South Africa. And again, my professor, one of the professors in the mathematics department, he said, look, this is something, I think that's for you. And I did apply for both, more or less, if I remember correctly, at the same time. So both the Gates Cambridge and the AIMS postgraduate diploma program, and that's how it gets started. And then accidentally going to AIMS first, it happened that most of the people involved with AIMS were also from Cambridge, and that made it, I guess, much more easier.
Okay, excellent. And Jeannie?
Oh, very simply, I loved maths at school. I loved the problems. I loved the fact that you knew with every question that you were given everything you needed to answer the question. And it was just a matter of your own intellectual activity. So I love maths for that reason. And as for Cambridge, and maths was a family subject. My father was a mathematician. My mother was a maths teacher. It was just natural that I would do a maths degree.
Okay.
As for Cambridge, a teacher suggested that I should try for Oxford or Cambridge. That was it.
So one of the common things I've heard from all three is that you all said, I love mathematics. So put your hand up if you say, I love mathematics. Yeah, good. Thank you very much indeed. Right, excellent. So here comes the next question. What advice do you have for current students wanting to study maths at university, and in particular at Cambridge? Who would like to go first? Go, Jeannie.
I would say go for it if you feel like it, and expect it to be hard, and expect to have to work hard.
Okay. And anybody else would like to say anything? Yeah, go, Shehu.
Yeah, I think it's important. If mathematics is something that you like, you should go for it for sure. Work hard. I think you need to work hard. And also try to make network within yourselves. So talk to each other, one another, students, and also the students' associations or societies in Cambridge. Try to find guidance and encouragement from teachers and professors. I think nowadays there are a lot that would be very happy to contribute towards that.
And go ahead, Uzu.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just sort of follow up on that. I mean, those two points before me have been excellent. It's really about feeling and knowing what is it that makes you happy, what is it you have passion for, and I think if you ask yourself that question first, do you have a genuine interest and passion for the subjects? I mean, that has to be the first question, because when you arrive at Cambridge, your cohort, they will have that passion. So if the answer to that question is yes, then of course the more practical elements of it are, working hard, finding, doing questions and above, let's say, what you would just normally do in a normal school curriculum. So go out there, test yourself, push yourself. There's Cambridge, I assume, still has the step level exams. It's go out there, look at past papers. Just keep at it. You're not going to get everything right first time, but like Jeannie said, the great thing about maths is when you're set the problem, the answer is you have everything you need to answer it. So you can just always keep pushing. So you can have a lot of natural talent, you have a lot of natural ability, but if you don't work hard, I don't think you're necessarily gonna reach the best of your potential.
Okay, so the take home for the person that asked that question is work hard, do loads of questions, work hard, keep on pushing, go for it, work hard. Would the panelists agree with that? Yep, thumbs up. Okay, cool. All right then, excellent. So, all right, so I'm ready to share the poll's results, and so if we get there, and so the question is, how many black mathematicians could you name, including teacher, before finding about this event? So we had 37% of the pollsters said 1, and 24% 2, 4% 4, and 1% said 5, and 12% said more than 5. So thank you very much indeed for that poll result. So we're going to pose the next question. And this is going to be related to the question that the panelists are going to answer the next. Is who is the greatest black mathematician? So hopefully that poll's going to be that question is going to be put up very soon. But before that, during that, I'm going to ask the panelists. Here we go. Who do you regard as the greatest black mathematician of all time? Okay. Oh, wow. Is it David Blackwell, Katherine Johnson, Jess Ernest Wilkins, or Kate Akiholu? Yep. So, oh, there's somebody's voted there. All right. So I'm going to ask the panelists, who are your favorite black mathematicians and why? Who would like to start off? Oh, okay. Okay, should we go for Jeannie? Go for it.
Well, for me, it's very easy. My father, George Okikiola, was a professional mathematician, and my sister is Kate Okikiola, a professional mathematician. So they've got to be my favourites.
Okay, so did you just vote in that poll just then?
No, I didn't. I haven't voted.
No problems. I just noticed that Kate had voted gone off. I was wondering who voted. There you go. Okay, excellent. And anybody else?
I think I can vote.
I'll answer that. I'll answer that in this way. I'd say the greatest mathematician for me is probably my mother. She was actually a maths teacher. Yeah. She was certainly the one who, when I was asking lots of questions, would spend the extra bit of time, sometimes on the weekends. And so I think often it's the unsung heroes that sometimes we do need to remember. Okay, excellent. And how about you, Shehu?
Yeah, for me, I think I would mention my teachers. They're the ones, the mathematicians I know first. And honestly, looking at the history of mathematics, it's something curious. One hardly see names of black people. I mean, it wasn't a real question for me up until seeing some of the talks. There was a presentation by you, Nira, which really opted me to think about it. I mean, I wasn't realizing. I mean, before you see all sorts of names, and they're all no black name, right? So I started knowing the black ones after seeing this talk by Dr. Nira Chamberlain, right? So I'll say my teachers are really and professors are the best black mathematicians I've come to know. And then there are some which I can mention. I mean, I can mention Jim Gates. Again, he's got this very beautiful book on superspace, something that has to do with supersymmetry. It's mathematical, related to my work, and that's it.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much indeed. Now, Uzo, we have a question from the public directly at you. Okay, so not trying to pick on you, but here we go. Right.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Uzo, have you ever felt overwhelmed in your job, and how have you dealt with it?
So I'd say the job, the profession in the financial markets, obviously, so often decisions have to be made at relatively quickly, I'd say, and decisions that can have quite large implications. Now, I would say that the ability to make some level of decisions under pressure, of course, that is something that for many people, I think it can be something that can be overwhelming. I'd say you learn how to do that over time. I'd say, like with any job where there's a certain amount of pressure, I put maybe, for example, if someone is a surgeon, a brain surgeon, I think that's another example of, I guess, a profession where you often have to make decisions with big implications very quickly. But you learn how to deal with let's say the feeling of being overwhelmed or having to make these decisions over time. Absolutely, number one, it's not for everyone, and I can totally acknowledge that. But the great thing about the financial sector, by the way, is that there's just so many different roles within it. If you're looking to do, if you're a more pure mathematician, you're someone who just simply likes doing the maths, then actually there's a whole bunch of roles, within the strategy teams where you sit, you look at models, you help feed into the trading desks, and in some sense you then don't have that aspect I'd say, of the actual sort of trading. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, I'm sure it has. Okay, excellent. All right, I'm going to do. This has come from the delegate. So it's an open question for the three of you, and it's been asked, and the person keep asking it. So, what are your favorite areas in mathematics?
Can I get my answer out of the way, which my degree was so long ago that I can't remember.
Sorry, this deep intake of breath. There you go. All right, anybody else? Go, Shehu.
There's this. I think it's fascinating to see group theory and representation theory being applied in physics. I mean, those are real. I mean, you can use them to describe particles, to describe interactions between particles.
Excellent.
And,
Uzu? Sorry, Shehu, carry on.
Yeah, that's it. And just to mention computing as well. So computing, using computers to solve problems, right? So programming aspects of mathematics.
All right, then. Okay. And Uzu?
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago when we did the undergrad degree, but definitely I remember really enjoying the probability courses that we did, the advanced probability. I enjoyed the statistics as well. And of course, naturally, you wouldn't be surprised to hear that I enjoyed, when we touched on some of the financial, some of the basic financial modeling, I enjoyed those courses as well. Now, interestingly, physics and quantum physics, and I know we have a real expert here, but the course, I think it was in the second or third year, maybe it was the final year. We did some course on quantum mechanics, and again, I thought that was absolutely fascinating, and really, really enjoyed that too.
Okay, right. Now, here's going to be a specific question for Jeannie. Here we go. So, question is for you, right? We heard about the comments that you just said before, so we're going to move it a bit more up to date. Why does forensic accountancy appeal to you?
I think when I discovered forensic accountancy, and it was after I'd done my training, where I did mainly audit, and then after audit, I wanted to experience other types of accountancy, so I did a bit of tax, and I did a bit of corporate finance work, and then I was really lucky to discover forensic work. I just fell into it, and I think it's the meticulousness, it's the rigor that you need, it's the ability to determine what is a strong argument and what is not a strong argument. And all this is necessary when you're collecting the evidence to support a case, to support your opinion that you might have to give in court. All this is necessary. So I think it's the habits of mind and rigor, which is very important to this particular branch of accountancy. And it's also, I think I like giving evidence in court. I enjoy that experience, like being an expert witness.
Excellent. Right. Thank you very much indeed. Now, Shehu, you are out in academia, yes? So here's the challenge. Here's the challenge for you. Can you, within the next 90 seconds, explain your research? Go.
What we try to do is to understand the components, small components that come together to build what we see around us and the interactions between them. This is one aspect. The other aspect is actually what we see around us. Where did they come from? So early at the beginning, was there a beginning? How was the beginning? And how did things evolve with time from then up until today? So there are ways of doing this. One way is theoretically, which one have to use a lot of mathematics. And the other way is experiment, right? And that's where the technology aspect, trying to build things and machines and to experiment things, and also computations.
Excellent. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. And that's a good within the 90 seconds. Brilliant. So here's got a question for all three of you. Here you go. In regards to the process of getting into Cambridge, I would like to know what was the most beneficial in you receiving a place for mathematics. Would you like me to repeat that question again?
Yes, please.
Okay. In regards to the process of getting into Cambridge, I would like to know what was the most beneficial in you receiving a place for mathematics. What was the most? Yeah. And that's from the member of the public. And go for you, Jeannie.
It's a not terribly serious answer, but I was told by one of my tutors when I was after I got in, that it was very important that I'd gone there on my own. I'd walked through the door of the interview room on my own. I hadn't been pushed into the room by my parents.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Well, I suppose I passed the exam. I must have passed the exam.
Okay. All right. Well done. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think in my case, it was probably, a big aspect of it is doing the exams above the normal A-level exams. And I think I just was very fortunate to have a teacher who really kind of understood that he had to, keep encouraging us and really sort of just helping us and guiding us through, those particular papers, by practice and just by, learning maybe some of the tools needed to be able to, attack those exams. But I'd say overall, Jean is absolutely right. I think if something like maths is great because it is about your intellectual, your sort of almost pure intellectual thought, and you just have to have the confidence. When you go in there, you just have to put aside the fact that this Cambridge is a great institution, the rest of that, and just have confidence that if you've prepared well, and your abilities are there, then actually you'll be absolutely fine.
Excellent. And go for you, Shehu.
Sorry, I can't answer because I didn't really get or understand the question. I mean, if you want, maybe you can say it again. And
okay, let me reframe the question in a better way. So let's say, for instance, what would you say the benefits? Okay, let me put the question like this for you. What do you think the personal benefits for you for actually obtaining that mathematics degree from Cambridge? What's the personal benefits to you?
Oh, personal benefits. I loved it, right? So it was, I was able to get in and then do the mathematics. And then after that, I keep going with my career, right? I love to do research and teach physics and mathematics. So that allowed me to be able to keep going to do this, right?
Cool. Excellent. Cool. Right, here comes the next question, and again, it's for the three of you. And this has been posed by the member of the public. They says, do you have any advice for preparing for the interview at Cambridge? Also, are there any tests you need to sit beforehand, i.e. with medicine, there is the BMAT?
So I'm thinking, so I'm thinking with that answer, we should probably refer to Ursula with respect to the actual admissions criteria now, because it's something which I wouldn't be able to answer. In fact, I think Ursula may have just posted something there.
Yeah. Okay. So I just again from the organisers, it says to answer that we still have the STEP. And we now offer a free STEP support program. So if you'd like to email the organisers, they can actually help you out with that. Anybody else would like to make a comment before we move on to the next question? We move on to the next question. Okay, so In terms of, and I'm going to put this to you, Shehu. Yeah. And again, it's going to be a general question here is, how many papers have you written?
Wow. Not that much. I think I've got something like 30 papers altogether with my collaborators. A few of them written them alone. Yeah, so I would say over 30 papers.
Okay. And then, okay, and here comes the next question, and it's going to be directly at you. Uzu is saying, would you still be an investment banker if you didn't do a mathematics degree?
Well, I think the short answer of that is probably, I'll answer that this way. If I had not done a mathematics degree, which, if you remember my previous question, it was a very natural degree for me to pursue. If I was not allowed to do a mathematics degree, I may have probably done something like philosophy or maybe even theology or something. As you can see, I'm someone who likes big questions. And then following that degree, I probably still would have gone into investment banking, I think, because I think it was the actual challenge of the job and the excitement and how it moves is something that also says something a bit about myself and something that just appeals to me. So I think the answer is yes. Even if I had not done a mathematics degree, I still would have moved into investment banking. And I would just say, broadly speaking, by the way, like if someone is thinking of a profession in investment banking, do not feel that you do not have to do maths in order to do that. There are obviously traditional routes. People study economics and finance and such. Economics, finance, and other things, such degrees. But I would say that the maths has been very helpful for me in my career, as discussed earlier.
Okay, right. I'm now going to give a general question. Yep. And so, how did you choose your first job after graduation? Go, Jeannie.
I had an easy answer again, because I had very little idea of what I wanted to do. And I remember speaking to a careers advisor at college, and all I said was, I want to advise people. And she was a bit perplexed by this. She said, well, in order to advise people, you have to know something. I accepted that point. Anyway, a bit later on, a tutor, one of my maths tutors, suggested I should apply to one of the large firms of accountants. In those days, it was the Big 8. Now it's the Big 4 firms. But he suggested I should apply. I was very grateful for the suggestion, and I did apply to firms of accountants.
Okay. Anybody else? Go, Shehu.
Yeah. So towards the end of my PhD, I was thinking about taking some rest to do something else, and also before continuing. And actually, I sent a number of applications, as it used to be the tradition for us, to different places. And one of them is the Abdul Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics, and they accepted me. I was offered a position, a fellowship, and then with a bit delay, I finally took it and then continued.
Okay, excellent.
I guess I would just jump in on my side there. I mean, I think one of the great things to understand is that when you join a university like Cambridge as an undergrad, you're going to spend a lot of time with your fellow undergrads, and of course you guys discuss what are we going to do after university. Look, I absolutely had no idea that even about the finance world or investment banking when I arrived at Cambridge. But through conversations, I'd say, with other undergraduates, that was when the whole notion that that investment banks exist, I began to become more aware of that. And Cambridge itself, at the time, and I'm sure it still has it now, had specific societies which were, in some sense, tailored towards maybe people who are looking to move into the financial services sector. So I took advantage of that while I was at the university, and then applied for an internship, and then fortunately got through the internship, and so I had a job effectively already there on graduation.
Okay, question from the member of the public. It's a bit of a challenging question, but I'm going to put it out there. You know, you three seem to be like an amazing role models. Yeah. So the question is, do you mentor anybody to share your experience and or work for charities? Do talks? Yep. Go, Jeannie.
I don't know about, I don't do any specific mentoring, but of course, whatever you do, you're sharing your skills and your experience with people. I do voluntary work. I play the violin, so I help to run orchestras, amateur orchestras that I play in. And also my role as a member of council of the Institute is a voluntary role. And in all one's work, one's life, one is hoping to convey one's experience and help through one's own experience.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Anybody else? Go, Shehu.
Yeah, so if the question is about mentoring, right? Yeah, so I do a bit of mentoring. So talking to people, students, a few of them back in Nigeria. And also there was recently the mentoring program by the Commonwealth Scholarship Program. I was able to talk to at least one person, which I think he's now doing his PhD. And yeah, so being an academician and based in the university, this is part of my job.
Okay.
And I'd say that when it comes to mentoring, I think when you go into the business world, then you have a lot of there's a lot of informal sort of mentor networks begin to spring up, and as you become more senior in it, then naturally you will have mentees, and so I'd say definitely I am quite involved when it comes to informal mentoring, and then when it comes to charity, of course, look, it's we're very fortunate. I think all of us are very fortunate here as panelists, and I got very involved with a soup kitchen based in Soho, which is something I've done I think for probably now over a decade, and it's something which that particular charity during the whole COVID period, by the way, I mean they were still sort of they're providing meals to I think 100 people like at a go, and so that was extremely extremely good work, and I'm also involved as a trustee in a charity called Wonder, and that's a charity which basically was built up from nothing, and really some nothing from I'd say real determination on the part of the woman who built that up. And what that charity does is it empowers women in the developing world, principally, but not only, via education, and sort of gives them the tools to often break the cycle of poverty that can occur. So that can be via helping in sort of nursing type education, or it could be in the hospitality industry, it can be all sorts of things. But principally, that's what drives the charity called Wonder Foundation. So do look it up. I think it's a wonderful organization.
Excellent. Now, this whole idea about the life of an investment banker, I think it's really has got people's attention, and there've been some questions I'm thinking, oh, I can't ask you that, but here we go. Here's a question that comes to you, Uzo, is how many hours do you work as an investment banker, and do you get any time off?
Okay, so I would say as an investment banker, like a lot of things in life, if you really want to do something and you want to do it well and you really enjoy it, you have obviously a set amount of time that you work, and then you can choose to work beyond that if that is something that you want to do. I would say that as a trader, my day starts early. because the markets start early. So broadly speaking, my market probably starts trading at around 7:30 in the morning. And obviously before that point, you have to prepare. So probably my alarm goes off at around 6 in the morning. So it's a pretty early start for me. But the markets close. The markets are usually closed by about 5 o'clock. So yeah, I mean, different bankers do different things. I think there's some other bankers work slightly later, start later, and finish later. I think it really depends exactly on what you do within banking. That was the first part of the question. What was the second part?
Do you get much time off?
Yeah, of course. Well, we have holidays. Well, bank holidays.
There you go. I mean, the person that's putting this has got a certain view of an investment banker, you see. So that's why I've asked you a question.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think it's a good question. I think for a lot of the young people, young people watching this, I think investment banking itself, look, it's when I started investment banking itself, it was a big industry, but over the last 20 years, we had the financial crisis. There's been a whole bunch of, let's say, interest in the industry. So there's been various, films made, which are meant to depict various aspects of that. What I would say is simple as this: investment banking is a profession like any other profession, I've been, very fortunate in that I've worked for, very professional, companies and banks, and ultimately you're there to do your job and you work hard. I would say also on top of that, we have holidays like everyone else has holidays. I don't work on weekends, for example. I would say though, in anything you do in life, and I'd say banking is the same. If anything you do in life, you want to do things that you're interested in, and you want to do something that you're passionate in. And I think therefore, if you find yourself working a little bit more, then that's because you want to, I would say. Now, I personally, I have a family, I have a balance in life, and I'd say that what's very important now is that increasingly a lot of banks and a lot of organizations, a lot of businesses are realizing that work-life balance is extremely important to getting the most out of their employees and getting the greatest efficiency in that sense. And so I would say, I would say maybe ignore some of the sensationalist press that sometimes depicts investment banking as this sort of, workhorse type of industry, and actually just think that it's probably just a lot more mundane, I'd say, than maybe some of the young viewers, may actually be surprised of. But if you're interested in a sector which is dynamic, is growing, is changing, that's what keeps me there. It's innovative. Right now, there's all sorts of new innovation happening in finance. I mean, probably some of you guys have heard of the term fintech. I mean, that's financial technology. I mean, how is technology meeting with the finance world? Of course, technology has been a big part of the financing world from the advent of computers. Very quickly, people within the financial sectors realized that they could perform all sorts of calculations and create all sorts of products and do all sorts of wonderful things that they couldn't do without computers. So in some sense, technology has always been a part of finance. If you're someone, I would say, who likes being at the cutting edge of things and also likes being involved in something which can be very broad in terms of how you think. It's the interaction of politics. It's the interaction of economics. There's so many different strings, I would say, to the entire industry. By the way, not one person understands the whole of the financial industry either anymore, similar to mathematics. If you're someone who wants to be involved in that kind of buzzing and large and very innovative environment, I'd say banking is great. So it's a very good question. Thanks for the question. I hope I answered that, and I hope I cleared up any sort of misunderstandings about the industry.
I think you have been very comprehensive, if I have to express my own personal opinion.
Thank you.
No problems. Okay, here we go. A question for the three of you is, what is your, you are role models, you're role models, you're black role models, you gone to Cambridge, you got your mathematics degree, and so the question is being posed is, what is your next career goal?
Okay. I think for me personally, I'm just someone whom, as long as I'm being challenged, as long as I'm someone who's developing, and there's new frontiers being opened up in what I do, then I'm just going to continue doing that. And so I wouldn't say I have a specific goal per se, but the goal I do have is a goal to continually feel challenged and continually feel that in what I'm doing, I'm always moving at the cutting edge of that. And so I think, for me, I think there's a lot of, I sort of touched on it earlier. There's a big room in technology right now in finance. And certainly, within the global markets and actually all parts of finance, but certainly, within global markets, that's something that's very tangible and real. And banks across the globe, are beefing up their technology staff. And it's getting to a point where, I'd say that you have to be very comfortable with technology, increasingly to succeed, to succeed within the industry. So that's my answer.
Anybody else? No. Okay. Oh, go, Jeannie. Yep.
I think I understand the question. I think I've got to the point where I no longer think in terms of career, but even once you don't think in terms of career, you still have to keep going with something. You don't just retire and go and tend their gardens. You have to think of a broader life trajectory, I think, and what are you going to do when you stop having to work? What are you going to do you actually want to do? And can you because when you work, you should be doing what you want to do as businesses. And the challenge is how to find other things that you want to do when it's no longer about earning money.
Okay, excellent. Right. I'm going to move on to the next question, okay? So this question got posed is, apart from in your career, in your various careers, apart from mathematics, what else skills are important?
Communication.
Yep, sure. Who?
Relationships very important. So be it kind of at home or in schools or kind of at work, could be manager-worker relationship, teacher-professor-student relationship, and yeah, sorry, one word, I would say relationship.
Okay, excellent.
I think they both said it. I think that's it. Communications, relationship, communication skills. I mean, a lot of in my business, a big part of aspects we have. You're obviously dealing with clients a lot, and you have to know how to relate. You have to know how to relate to your clients. You need to understand exactly what is it your client needs and how can you help them with that. So being able to listen to people, I'd say, and being able to effectively get the message across. What is it exactly you're trying to say? What is it exactly you can provide? What service are you providing? Okay. I think these are extremely important skills.
Okay. Right. Here's a question from the public. Yeah. Now, quite tricky, but I'm going to throw it out there. Any advice for someone who does not know what to do with maths? And I know what I want to say, but over to you. Shall I say the question again? Any advice for someone who doesn't know what to do with their maths? So let's say they've done a mathematics degree, they want to know what should they do? Jeannie.
Well, it's maybe not a very good answer, but I think listen to, take all opportunities to get advice from the people who are in a position to know where your skills might be needed. Because, you know, I can't, I don't know that at the moment. But there will be people who do know.
Okay. Shahu?
Yeah, I think my take about this, it's a bit difficult because for someone in that kind of situation, it sounds that really maths is not something that it likes, he or she likes, right? Because I have the feeling or the opinion that if that is really something that you love, you like to do, for sure you'll be able to apply it in so many different places. So it is important to fix this and to know if it is something that you don't really like, then you should change and look for what you like in yourself and then go for it. It doesn't have to be mathematics.
Okay. Uzo?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that really it feels that that there's some level of speaking to someone who knows you. So obviously there's the internal introspection, which I think is important. I think one needs to ask themselves and actually come to the core of it. What is it that I actually like? What is it that makes me happy? What is it that I enjoy? Which may seem like a simple question to pose, but often that can get blocked out. And especially if someone's on a track of just completing a degree. I mean, they get the degree and they complete the degree. So I would say take time out, really just however you want to do it. Work out what is it that really kind of makes you happy internally. And then, of course, seek advice from those people around you who know you. Because guess what? They've spent time with you. They know what probably, they can probably see some of the skills you have that maybe you don't even see in yourself. And I guess, putting that together hopefully can build some kind of picture as to at least what direction you should be heading towards.
Right. Now, before we go to the poll's results, and we're going to reveal who the general public believe is the greatest black mathematician, I'm going to ask you one final question, yeah? And it's going to be compulsory for the three of you to answer. There you go. So you're going to start off with this question. You can start off answering this question by saying, my favorite memory of Cambridge is... Away we go. All right, we're going to start with you, Uzu. My favorite memory of Cambridge is
cycling back from after lectures and going past this fudge shop opposite King's and knowing that there's a guy standing out there with some free fudge and you could take a little bit of it and it was delicious. And occasionally you could treat yourself with buying a bar.
Okay. All right. Who wants to go next? Remember, my favorite memory of Cambridge is... Go ahead, Jeannie.
Cambridge is a beautiful, beautiful place. It's such a privilege to be there. And I think my absolute favourite memory is walking through King's College and hearing the choir practicing from King's College. The sound floating over a beautiful environment. It's lovely.
Excellent. And Shahu, my favourite memory of Cambridge is...
Yeah, my favorite memory at Cambridge is about, cycling. I love my bicycle, moving around with my bicycle, and then punting. And there are lots of experiences and memories concerning my college in relation also with my supervisor when I'm the curator. He will know that very well.
Cool. Excellent. Well, thank you very much indeed for answering all of those questions. I know some of them were challenging on the spot, but I think you did an excellent job. Thank you very, very much indeed. So hopefully we should have the poll results ready of who do we consider as the greatest black mathematician. Here we go. And we see we have 16% that's gone for David Blackwell. 69% has gone for Catherine Johnson. 2% has gone for Jessie Early Wilkins. And 14% has gone for Kate Akikulu. So there we go. So people has gone for Catherine Johnson. So may I May I thank everybody that has submitted questions, and I hope you've enjoyed this panel on the hidden figures in Cambridge mathematics. I'd like to thank Uzo, Jeannie, and Shuhu for making yourself available to answer these questions and giving us an insight into Cambridge, to mathematics at Cambridge, and insight into their careers. And I hope that for those who are watching this live or watching the recorded, will be inspired by these wonderful individuals to go for it, to do their mathematics degree, go to a university, let's say it's go Cambridge, and make a success of their career, because anybody can do anybody. Mathematics is for everybody and everybody and everybody. Thank you very much indeed.